And so you put up a video. What did it say and what happened?
So I put this video up saying, folks, are we going to kill humanity? We're killing ourselves. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the soil, it's in the meat, it's in breast milk.
It is.
We're feeding baby formula that's got it in it. I mean, come on, stop!
From barns to big towns, it's the Peter Byck Show, Season 1. When you stand on healthy soil, there's a universe beneath your feet. Want to make sure you never miss an update? Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can be the first to know when a new episode arrives. Our guest this week is pioneering cattle farmer Greg Judy. Greg's insights on what is right and what is wrong with our farming methods are enlightening and right on the money. If half of all farmers followed Greg's lead, our world would be in fantastic health. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hey, how you doing?
Greg, welcome
Peter?
to the Peter Byck Show.
Well, thank you. Yes, an honor. I'm glad to be part of it and excited to have you in our neck of the woods here in central Missouri.
It's so good. So we're in a kitchen right now in a house. Give us a little history of this house that we're in right now.
Yeah, so this house, we moved into this house in 1965. I was 6 years old, five years old.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 9 of us lived in this little 2-bedroom. Well, it was actually a 1-bedroom.
Oh my goodness.
And 9 of us. And my little sister was actually born in the bedroom behind us. And there's 5 of us kids in 1 bedroom.
She was born in 1965 or 66.
66.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have any running water. We didn't have any heat other than a wood stove. And you took a bath once a week.
Mm-hmm.
It was on Sunday morning before you went to church.
Yeah.
So you heard about throwing the baby out with the bath water?
Yeah.
Well,
were you the baby?
I was the baby. I was the youngest boy.
Okay.
And so all the girls got their bath first, and my older brother, then Greg.
Oh, that's funny.
And so it was cold and it was dirty water. You climbed in, and I hated Sundays because you had to take a bath and that stuff.
Once a week.
Once a week. Mom made sure her kids were clean once a week.
And do you get showers more often than that now?
Yeah, a little bit more often than that. I don't know how Peter, I look back on those days, I don't know how my parents did it.
Right.
I mean, we moved here from Minnesota. We brought 12 cows with us.
So that was 12 dairy?
12 dairy cows.
Right.
In Minnesota, we had 40. Well, we downsized. We moved to Missouri. Mom couldn't take the winters there. Mm-hmm. And we had a little milking parlor right here behind the house, and we milked. And I don't know how they did it. I look back, and they were just tough people. Mm-hmm. And we didn't feel like we were poor or neglected or anything. We always had a full belly. Mm-hmm. And Mom was an excellent gardener. Mm-hmm. And she canned, and she froze food. I mean, she was a very, very good, mom. She took care of her kids, and she sewed all the clothes.
So she's taking care of y'all better than probably a lot of folks are taking care of their kids right now with the quality of food.
Oh yeah, we ate good. Right. I mean, Mom always cooked from scratch. We didn't ever eat out of a container. It was always fresh. Maybe not as much of it as you wanted because there was 9 of us.
Right. Did you fight for who got in there first?
No.
Did you think I'm a farmer, I'm going to be a farmer, that's just who I am when you were a boy?
Peter, it's hard to believe, but this is the absolute truth. I've told this story, and when I was 7 years old, mm-hmm. I remember sitting on a pond bank fishing. I loved to fish. When I was little, that's all I did. In ponds, you go fishing. And Mom liked to eat fish, so I was supplying the family with fish.
Nice.
Anyway, I remember sitting on a bank and envisioning a herd of cattle, pretty good sized herd of cattle, but they were black. They weren't red.
Okay. Well, did you know red cows back then?
No, I didn't know red cows back then. And
so we'll give you that. We'll give you that.
But I could envision I was going to have a herd, pretty good sized herd of cattle. That was what I was going to do. At 7 years old, nice. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And it never left my mind.
And did you sort of just aim your life that way? Did you do
As
FFA?
I got older, you go through your teenage, adolescent, goofy years, you don't know who you are.
Let me know when those are over.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, these young people that come to me today and like, Greg, I'm 30 years old and I don't know what I want to do. I'm like, welcome to the crowd.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was breathing until I was 30.
Right.
You just do all this goofy stuff.
But you did know you wanted that herd of cows.
I wanted that herd of cows.
Yeah.
And I just I started with one. I got one from Ron McBee up here. He gave me a heifer, and from that,
He gave you one?
Well, I worked for him.
Okay.
I mean, we did chores for him, and he appreciated it, so he gave me a heifer.
That's nice.
And from that, we just kind of took off from there. From one.
So your herd that you have right now
Yep.
started from that heifer?
No.
Okay.
No, that heifer, she was what we call a commodity.
Okay.
Big frame, big animal.
Right.
I ended up selling her, but it gave me that. Well, even before that, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Mom wanted to teach us kids what real work was.
Okay.
She bought 100 bucket calves.
I don't know what that means. Bucket calves.
2-day-old dairy calves.
Got it.
That were bred to a Black Angus bull. So they were half Black Angus, half Holstein.
Okay.
We got 100 of them in the middle of the night. They came in from Wisconsin. We dumped them out. We had everything ready. Mom had bought the buckets and the milk replacer, and we started bottle feeding calves.
Wow.
And to keep them from getting diarrhea and scours, we were feeding them 4 times a day, just a little bit, not a bunch. And we ended up losing, out of 100, we lost 5. They just died, you know, young calves. But man, you talk about work. And then we grew them up and we bred them. Some of them we bred. Probably shouldn't have, but you know, Mom wanted us to get a taste of the cattle business, and we definitely did.
Yeah.
And I learned the wrong way to do it.
Okay.
You know, I really
That's
did.
valuable.
It is. Bud Williams, a good friend of ours that's passed away, said, Greg, sometimes you learn more going to work for somebody that's doing it wrong. Because you're like, you know what? When I get my own deal going, I'm not going to do it this way.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
And I've made a ton of mistakes in my work.
Oh, yeah.
And they're painful, but they are good teachers.
Good teachers.
If you listen.
Yeah, if you listen to
you're going to get it again if you don't listen to it.
That's right. You got to be humble.
Yeah.
You got to be humble.
When was the first time you ate a steak from an animal you raised?
Well, Jan and I actually started dating in 97. We got married in 2001. So it had been, we didn't start owning her to South Pole until like 2003.
Okay.
So it had been in that period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you have a moment of this tastes good, or did you go, wait a second, I need to do something?
No, it was always good.
Okay.
Awesome. The flavor's always been through the roof. Sometimes it's maybe more chewier than what you would expect, maybe. But you know, I think people are spoiled. We need to be reintroduced to our teeth. I'm serious. I mean, for your teeth to glide through a piece of meat, maybe you're not going to get that every time.
Right.
You know, and I think with Peter, I'm really fervent about this. I think for somebody to start out in this business and to build the business, you really ought to start focusing on hamburger first.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because when you grind a beef up, it doesn't matter if it's tough or tender. He's going to be tender when you do hamburger. Build your hamburger market, work on your land, get your soil up there, get your grass species, your genetics, and the whole time you're selling hamburger. And you got customers that are like, can I have some more of that? Everybody always wants hamburger.
Right.
You're always running out of hamburger, especially grass finished.
So you're not even like getting cuts of steak or New York strip or anything?
Not starting out.
Don't try that.
No,
Don't
I would
bother
not
with that.
suggest doing that because you're going to end up with animals that may not be the best eating experience.
And then your reputation's set, and that's that.
I ate some of that, and it tastes like eating a shoe sole.
Yeah.
We hear that all the time. And so until you get your genetics right, I'm really a big believer, you got to get the frame size right on these animals.
And that's the smaller grass finished frame.
Short legs, big gut, you know, and they can make it on 100% forage.
More shaped like a lawnmower.
Yeah, I say a barrel on little stilts. It needs to look like a barrel with little stilts. And the legs need to have very fine bone. That's huge.
Interesting. You'd think they'd want sturdy, thick bone.
No, you want thick bone is high maintenance, tough eating meat.
Interesting. Okay.
The bigger the bone on the animal, the higher maintenance they are. And the bigger they're going to get.
Okay.
You want a fine bone like a deer.
But they don't break?
No.
I never heard.
No. Look in the wild. Look at the wild critters in Africa. The kudu, the wildebeest, the zimbuck, impala, all of them have very fine, dense, strong bones.
So they're fine, but they're dense.
They're dense.
Okay. So that's what I was wondering about strength.
The finer and the denser the bone, the more tender the meat.
Interesting.
Yep. It's been proven.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah, Gerald Fry was a good friend of ours, and he did a lot of studies with that, and he came up with that correlation. Big bone, tough eating experience. And that animal's going to be hard to keep going on your farm.
Right. So when you're grazing, how did you find out about South Pole cattle and find out about Teddy Gentry? We're going to talk about how you built your community. How did you? Is that the first step?
The first step was doing it wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
It was. I mean, Jan and I custom grazed. What that means is we grazed other people's cattle for 7 years. We both came out of a divorce. We didn't have 2 cents to rub together.
Interesting.
We couldn't go buy cattle.
Got it.
So we had to build the nest egg up. So we got paid to graze other people's big cattle.
Year round or just
Year round.
during the growing
365 days of the year.
Okay.
So we would take in spring calving cows in the fall after they took the calves off them. In the fall, they'd bring in cows that were going to calve in the spring. We'd take them through the winter for them. And so we were feeding other people's cattle on other people's farms with other people's hay. So that's what the no-risk ranching came from.
So you were just working.
We were basically a service industry. Okay.
Yeah.
We got paid well for that.
Nice.
So much a month per cow.
Per cow or how much weight they gained?
No, well, we started out with weight gain on steers.
Right.
So we were getting paid 32 cents a pound. Now, you got to remember, this is in
20.
No, it was it was in 1999, 98.
Okay.
So back in those days, 32 cents a pound, cattle were only bringing 60.
Really?
Yeah. You could buy a steer for 60 cents a pound. Wow. So we were getting 32 cents a pound.
What are they now?
Oh my gosh. They're $3.50. They're saying 400 to 500 pound calves this summer are going to hit $4 a pound. I think we will. We're already at $3.50.
That's well beyond inflation.
Yes, because the nation's cow herd is the smallest it's been since 1950.
The cow herds?
The nation's cow herd is the smallest it's been since 1950.
And our population's tripled.
Yes.
More than tripled.
And the droughts.
Right.
The droughts are knocking back the number of cattle.
That's right.
And then with inflation, it costs more to buy a new baler, twine to wrap your bales. Everybody's feeding grain to their animals. It costs more to buy the grain. The tractors. People are selling out. That's what I think is a travesty, is people, they're done. Yeah. They're just done. They're selling the cows and they're renting their farms out. And we need to get that trend reversed.
Or developing their farms.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about the farm near here that was being developed as a neighborhood.
Yeah, so Jan and I, of course, I've been raising this area my whole life, pretty much, and I went by this farm every day. Every day. I'd go by and look at that. Man, that's a beautiful farm. Wouldn't it be something to have something like that? I mean, it is. It's just pictures. It looks like something you see in the movies. And the owner sold it to a developer. And there's all these warning signs. Everybody in the neighborhood is like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a subdivision on that beautiful ranch. The cattle were sold, the developers ripped the fence out, and they brought a surveyor in and they put it all in 10-acre tracts.
So they got the stakes out,
little
flags
on, and they got the marker, track 9, track 10, track 11.
Okay.
I'm going by that and I'm like, oh my.
Had they dug the road template yet?
Oh yeah, there's 2 roads back in there.
Yeah.
He spent thousands of dollars, probably $100,000 on
grading.
roads.
Yep.
Put in the big culverts crossing the creek. He put in 3 roads. And these great big iron gates on the front, big iron arch. I don't know why he did that, but he did. And they were going to call it Heartland Acres.
The names.
Peter, every time I drove by that, I got a sick feeling in my stomach.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to be staring at 17 houses. That's how many tracks are on it.
Yeah.
So long story short, we came in and said, we don't need your water, we don't need your electric. And we finally ended up agreeable on a price, and we closed on it.
So you prevented, because you're well known for saying, I don't want houses on my farms.
Yes.
And there you were preventing that happening on the neighbor's farm that's now your farm.
That's correct. And all the neighbors around there, everybody, we've met most of them, and they're all like, are you kidding me? You bought that? I'm like, we just want to shake your hand.
Yeah.
And I met a farmer just this week. His son was helping us pound in posts on the new farm. And he goes, Greg, I just want to say thank you for buying that.
Nice.
He said, because, everybody was looking at houses, And this is country. I mean, we're able to keep it a grazing farm.
Yeah.
and it had 3 nice ponds on it. It was taken care of. The guy that had it split up in paddocks. They ripped them out.
Right.
The developers took out all the high tensile fence, all the road frontage fence, just took it all out. It just makes you sick. We don't need to be developing farmland with houses.
We'll be right back. Please check out our new docuseries, Roots So Deep You Can See the Devil Down There, which explores how adaptive multi-paddock grazing is turning cows into climate heroes. It's available now for streaming at rootsodeep.org. Welcome back to the show. So where did you get the idea to graze in a regenerative manner? Like, was that the way you were raised?
Yes, pretty much. My parents, my dad was a row cropper. He liked to plow, but Mom was always an organic gardener. We took the organic gardening, the Rodale Institute, Mother Earth News, that kind of thing. So I got into composting. I used to be a big gardener when I got married. Years ago, when I was like 19, 20, I had a 2-acre garden. And I sold produce, Everything was compost. I didn't use any chemical fertilizer.
Interesting.
And I could see the difference. I mean, I saw people that use chemical fertilizer and their tomato plants would dry up, and it was in a drought, and mine were just lush and teeming with fruit. It's because it was using, animal manure composted with hay, and I grew some of the darndest gardens you ever saw.
So your mom had a big influence.
Big influence in the way that I farm. That's right.
Because I talked to other farmers, they came through conventionally, chemically, and then ran up against, they can't afford to pay for that anymore, or ran up against, this doesn't feel right, or, hey, I'm teaching people to go out of business. I've seen all those things.
Well, Peter
But you're the first one I've met that sort of had it from birth.
Yes, it felt right. And then the more I got into it, when I started doing it, it just economically, it just, you can't do all this other stuff and make a living at it.
Right.
Unless you get farm subsidies or, government subsidies. And I'm not against 100% subsidies. I think if you're a young fellow starting out and you can get a little cost share on some water and some fencing to get going, there's nothing wrong with that.
And as a taxpayer, I would support that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to be married to a subsidy, where the only way you can keep farming is to get it every year, I'm not for that.
It's not just farmers that are married to subsidies.
Oh, I know.
There's very mature businesses that get subsidies. Did you know, this was so hard to figure out and find with our researcher, my buddy Michael, the fossil fuel industry has an annual subsidy worldwide of $500 billion.
Yeah.
That's just taken out of all the country's economies.
$500 billion.
$500 billion.
That's a big number.
And that's a 120-year-old business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I firmly believe that when a business is starting out, an industry is starting out, help them out.
Yeah.
Boy, getting that back is hard.
It is. It's real hard.
Yeah.
And the more you use it, Jan and I went to a winter meeting, and they had a guy there from the government talking about all the farm programs. And I haven't used farm programs for years, but I couldn't believe it. It's just unbelievable. The programs that are out there, there's literally probably 100 of them now.
Yeah.
And when I was starting out, there was like 3.
Yeah, there's people that basically help farmers do all that contracting.
Yep.
That's a little cottage industry.
Well, going back to your original question, you asked me a while ago, how did we get into South Pole and the smaller cows? We were custom grazers, and I saw that the people we were running cattle for were not making any money. I did the numbers. What they paid us and what it cost to keep those cows going, they weren't making any money. It was a tax write-off. It was a hobby.
But you were making a living.
We were making a living because we were a service industry.
Got it.
We didn't own the animals.
It's like my editors on my films, man. Editors make money.
Yeah.
Producers, maybe.
Yeah.
But the editor's going to make money.
Yeah. It's the same way with publishers on a book.
Oh, interesting.
The publisher's going to make the money.
Okay.
I found that out the hard way.
Okay.
Anyway, so we met a fellow after I wrote my first book, No Risk Ranching. His name is Gerald Fry.
Name of the book again?
No Risk Ranching.
Got it.
With a subtitle, Custom Grazing on Leased Land.
Got it.
So when I wrote that book in 2001, they started inviting me to speak at these conferences. Well, one of the conferences had Gerald Fry there.
Okay.
And I heard Gerald talk about grass genetics, grass genetic cattle. And I'm like, what is this old coot talking about? All cows eat grass. What do you mean grass genetics?
Right.
He goes, no, Greg, there's a difference. There's some cows that can eat grass 100%, stay fat, raise a calf, and breed back on the grass that's on your farm without giving them any grain. Oh, and by the way, you don't need to wean the calf. I'm like, what? There's no way you can do that. That cow's going to get thin. If you don't take the calf off in the fall, that cow's going to get thin. She's not going to breed back. She's probably going to die.
Right.
Yes, no. No, I said, there's cows out there that can do that. And so he perked my interest pretty big because I had those big cows at home. And Jan and I were just feeding them like a bunch of welfare recipients, and they still didn't do anything for us. Gerald's deal is a cow needs to work for you. You don't need to be working for the cow. And so he introduced me to South Poles and Teddy Gentry.
Got it.
And he's the one that got us invited down to Teddy's farm. And we had that big meeting down there, Teddy did, and we were one of the 100 that he invited. And we left that meeting, Dave Roberts, I kept pounding on him. Teddy was still actively singing. Well, they still are, but
he was busy then.
They were going strong.
Yeah, and Dave runs his farm.
Dave runs the farm. And Dave, I kept pestering him, and he knew my name, I think, from that book. And I think Teddy might have dropped a little message in his ear. So I don't know how he did it, but we went home with 22 cow-calf pairs and a bull. And Teddy shipped them up here. I was scared to death. At that time, Jan...
That's a big investment,
yeah,
right?
Jan and I'd saved the nest egg enough to pay cash for them. And they shipped them up here, and winter came. And I'm like, I hope these cows don't die because they're used to Alabama.
Right.
And I went out the first morning, there was snow about that deep, and the cows had their noses down in the snow.
So they were grazing in the snow.
Through the snow.
Because a lot of people think that's impossible.
Yeah, they were going through the snow to get the grass.
You felt that immediately.
Yes.
You didn't teach them that.
No, they knew where the grass... See, South Pole, all they'd ever done is graze.
Right.
So they know where the grass is.
Down.
And nobody's going to just hand it to them. They got to go find it.
You can put a glacier on there.
And they go find it.
Nice.
Yeah. So from that point, Jan and I kept the best heifers and just started building our herd from that. And we range today now somewhere between 300 to 400 head, depending on the time of the year. And we're more of a seed stock business now. We sell a lot of breeding stock. And the steers, we finish a few, but our big business on steers is selling somebody a gooseneck trailer load.
Meaning
if they want to come and buy 10 or 12 or 15, we'll sell them to them. And they're not going to be finished. They're going to be in that 450 to 700 pound range.
But they're after 8 months, after 10 months? Because you wean at 10 months, right?
Well, yeah, 10 months. Yeah, they're going to be at least that old.
Okay.
And they don't know who mommy is.
They're ready to leave.
Yeah, they're just ready to eat.
Like Alan Williams says, they're ready to go to college and
That's
get the hell
right.
out of there.
Yeah, that's right. So, and that's been a good business for us. People don't want to own cows. They just want to run steers. And so there is a customer for those steers.
Got it. So they don't want to have breeding animals that they have to keep all year long and keep that going. Just bring in the steers, fatten them up, sell them.
Yep.
And the next year do the same thing.
They don't have to worry about calving. They don't have to worry about the cow, depreciation on the cow.
But they can still be improving their land if they're grazing in a regenerative way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because Birdwell Clark,
yep,
that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
And
they run a bunch of them.
Yeah. 5,000 head.
Yeah. Pretty cool operation there in Texas.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about soil. To me, it seems like if you're focused on soil health, everything comes out of there.
Yes.
Does that work for you too? Is that how you focus on it?
Absolutely. So fast forward to 2006. I go to a bull sale. And I didn't know this guy was going to be there, but down in the ring the night before the sale was Ian Mitchell-Innes from South Africa.
All right.
The high-density grazer, probably the leading grazer in the world. He was there.
Does he call it mob grazing?
He calls it holistic managed grazing.
Okay, so he calls it, is it holistic planned grazing?
Yeah, holistic planned grazing.
So that's Alan Savory, so it's like right in there.
Yeah.
You call it mob grazing.
Yeah, the U.S., me and, well, actually, I can't take the full credit for that. There were several people called it mob. I mean, Alan Williams, now Alan calls it adaptive grazing.
Yeah.
But, it basically, you're using animals to build soil. So Ian's in this ring before the sale that night, giving a talk. And when I got done listening to him, he's about an hour talk. People are laughing at him. Oh, his slides weren't very good. And, his dialect, his accent, that English accent, they couldn't understand him. I'm like, you all didn't get it. You just didn't get it. I went home. I went to the hotel at night. I didn't sleep.
Just it got you.
It got me.
I know that when you get a message and you can't sleep, I know that.
It got me bad.
Yeah.
I mean, really bad. And I wanted to learn all I could learn about holistic.
What was like a nugget of what he...
I'll tell you what it was. He said, folks, you are not grass farmers. That's what he said, told us. You all are not grass farmers, you're microbe farmers. And I mean, when he said that, I'm like, oh, wait, what are you talking about, these microbes? I know there's critters down, but they're just critters in the soil. What's that got to do with anything?
Yeah. Did you call it soil back then, or did you call it dirt?
No, I call it soil.
Okay, so you had that going for you.
I was an organic farmer.
That's right.
I called it soil. Dirt is dead.
Yeah.
Yes, dust. Anyway, so Ian, fast forward, he emails me. We started emailing.
Okay, so you met him then, talked to him.
I met him there,
and he could tell something was clicking with you.
Yeah, and when Ian's talking about running 4,000 head on 40 acres, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
4,000 head on 40 acres.
Yeah.
But he's moving them, and when he gets done, he's been doing this for a lot of years. His land has got so much carbon that it's different.
Yeah. And down in South Africa, they need this big time.
Oh, yeah, because
you drive around there and you can just see the depleted soils. You can see...
They're burning the country.
Yeah.
We were there 3 weeks, and you never could look in the horizon in any direction, and there wasn't a fire.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. But
Ian says they're going to turn it into the Sahara Desert if they're not careful.
Yeah.
The natives believe that if they don't burn it, the cattle will starve to death the next year.
Right. That is a thing, but it's not... Yeah, there needs to be a lot of knowledge sharing.
You got to get the carbon. You got to get the carbon on the land. Yeah. So anyway, Ian asked me like 3 or 4 months later. I kept firing questions at him, email. He said, Greg, would you like to host a school with me? And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like, well, let's just say you were Catholic. Then it'd be like the Pope asking if you wanted to have mass at your house.
Right. Big deal.
Big deal. And I'm like, heck yes, I'd love to do that. I was a little bit scared. Because he's a pretty pricey date, but we made it, and we did well, and we've been doing them since 2007. He's coming this year,
right?
So it's been a really good learning experience, and Ian challenges us every year he comes. He'll ask us what we do and some of the things we're doing, and he makes me feel uncomfortable. He likes to do that. He needs to do that because he can say things to me that Jan could be saying to me. I'm like, oh no, but when he says it, I'm like, it must be something really needs to be done, or he wouldn't have said that to me. So one example is when I first met him, I gave him a tour of our farm before the school. He gave me one free full day.
Right.
I was in heaven. At that time, we had 9 farms. We were running 3 different herds of cattle. We had a farm down the road here. We had one over here, and we had the Judy farm. And we got done that day, and Ian says, come on in here. We need to have a cold drink and talk. I'm like, okay. I was all pumped up.
Yeah.
He goes, Greg, what you're doing is not sustainable.
Oh.
I'm like, what do you mean it's not sustainable? Well, he said, you're working in town 40 hours a week. Your wife is working in town 40 hours a week. You've got 3 herds of cattle that you're moving twice a day, morning and night. And he said, there's 3 things that are going to happen to you. I'm like, what is that? Kind of curious. He goes, well, one is you're going to burn out. You can't keep this pace up. Number 2, you're going to drop dead from sheer exhaustion.
Oh, wow.
Number 3, your wife's going to divorce you.
There you go.
And I just got remarried 6 years earlier.
Right.
And he goes, which 3 of those do you want? I'm like, I don't want any of them.
Exactly.
He goes, you got to change what you're doing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, he says, you got to combine those cows. I'm like, I can't, Ian. I can't put all those cows together. You see these roads I've got between the farms. I said, if I put all my cows over there, I'll run out of grass. And then I got to put them in a semi-trailer, haul them 3 miles or 2 miles down the road to the next farm and do that. I said, I'm not going to do that. He goes, Greg, the last time I checked, they had 4 legs. Make them walk. I'm like, what? He said, make them walk. He said, put an ad in the Columbia Tribune that you're going to have a cattle drive and they can bring their horses. And you're going to have a chuck roast that night with grass-fed meat and live music. And he said, charge them. He said, charge them $300 a head to bring their horses out. He said, you'll fill it up. And he's right. We still haven't given up on that idea, but he said, you just got to do it gradually.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. Enjoying the conversation? Well, you'll love our new 4-part docuseries, Roots So Deep You Can See the Devil Down There, which is all about inventive farmers and maverick scientists building a path to soil health and farmer wealth with hooves, heart, and soil. It took us 10 years to make, and you can binge the whole story in an evening. It's streaming now at rootsodeep.org, and use the code GREG, G-R-E-G, for 10% off. Welcome back. So Greg, you're an outspoken person.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And I've heard you talk about USDA policy, U.S. government agriculture policy, and things like that. What would you do if you were Secretary of Agriculture?
Oh, man. First thing I would do is, it would be fundamental when you take a crop off the land, whether it's corn, soybeans, wheat, I don't care what it is, there's a cover crop going. I tell you how...
So keep the soil covered at all times.
Green growing roots putting out plant exudates and keeping the land covered.
And keeping the microbes
Folks,
happy.
Keeping the microbes happy.
Yeah.
We got so much bare soil out there that it's not collecting any solar energy.
Yeah.
It's not collecting rainwater. We got dust storms. Why we got dust storms? We got these bare fields.
We got big dust storms. And it's not being reported.
No, but they're there.
Yeah.
Jan and I got in one in Arizona. No, it was in New Mexico.
Was it a...
It was scary.
Yeah. Those are big time.
Oh my God, you couldn't see it. We were going 70 miles an hour and all of a sudden the semi in front of us, we couldn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's scary. You can't see a semi.
The only benefit I've found of those dust storms was in one in Utah, and I just left LA after many years.
Yep.
It cleaned all the tar off of my hubcaps, off of my wheel wells. So they were like polished when I got through that wind.
But, back to, if I was in a place where I'd make rules, one of the rules is you don't get a single penny. You get zero government payments if you don't put in a cover crop. Right. If you got bare soil out there, you're not getting anything. And it's the opposite today. We're rewarding farmers. If you're a poor farmer, you get rewarded for that. Yep. It ought to be the opposite. I'd be taking tests on my soil to see if the organic matter is going up.
Yeah.
If your organic matter is rising, you get rewarded for that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, whatever it is. Right now, they come in and they put these terraces in and get all the water off your farm. I would stop that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're getting all the water.
That's tiling, right?
They're tiling farm. They're still doing it, and the government's paying for it. They're tiling land out here on the prairie
to get water off your farm
so you can get in the field sooner to plant.
But then you're irrigating your farm.
Or get in there to irrigate because it's not wet. But then you get in a drought, you don't grow a crop.
Yeah, that one's very hard for me to get my head around.
It's real hard.
Yeah.
This transpiration thing is huge.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have something to collect the water and hold it there and it just runs off, where's that water going? It's ended up in the ocean.
Right.
So there's no water left in the Midwest to transpirate back onto the land.
To create more rain.
More rain.
Yeah.
Why are we getting these droughts? Because we got this bare ground.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I would stop that in a heartbeat. I would. That'd be the first thing I'd do.
Okay, so we got something growing all year round. How would farmers afford to have that extra seed being planted that's going to cover their soil?
The soil and the reduced inputs it would take to grow the crop. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Gabe Brown. His cost to do a bushel of corn, it used to be like $1 something a bushel. The national average today is like $4 to $5 a bushel.
Right.
To put out
because let me put it together.
How far is that going to go?
Yeah, tell me if this is right. You cover your soil. Your microbes are thriving.
Yep.
You're creating value. You're not removing value.
That's correct.
You're creating moisture. You're not removing moisture.
Peter, I had a crop farmer tell me, and he was a big crop farmer. He said, Greg, I don't need good soil. No,
okay.
This is exact words, and I haven't finished. I don't need good soil. All I need is a medium to hold the seed in place. I'll give it everything it needs. I'll pour the fertilizer to it. I'll pour the herbicide to it. I'll pour the irrigation to it. Everything it needs. I don't need good soil. Now that's a heck of an attitude to have as a farmer.
A big one.
As a farmer, we should be looking at building, something to hand down to our kids that's better than what we found it.
Yeah.
Not farming it out and mining all the soil so all you have left for your kid is talcum powder.
Right.
Peter, there's an issue. There's an issue here, and I'll tell you what it is. In the springtime, I've seen farmers replant 3 times.
Okay.
Because it rained on it.
What?
It rained on it.
Replanted what?
Their crop.
What crop? What kind of crop?
Corn, beans, it doesn't matter. What happens, our soil doesn't have any organic matter in it. So when it gets a good pounding rain on it, it gets such a hard crust, the plants can't push up through it.
Oh my goodness.
And they're going back and they're replanting. I've seen them do it 3 times in one spring. And seed corn is expensive.
Right.
That it wouldn't come up. The ground was so hard. So what's their deal? They go out there and they disc it up again. They disc it up. Oh, we got to get it loose. And then you get a big old rain. And the same thing happens
So
again.
it's like talcum powder.
Yes.
So then the rain comes on it, turns into plaster.
Yes.
And that's soil?
Plaster. Wall plaster.
Yeah. And that's their soil.
Plant can't get up through it.
Right.
So they go out there and they replant and they pray that it doesn't rain. They do. They pray that it doesn't rain until that plant gets its little head up.
And then it can rain.
And then it can rain. Then it can rain.
Wow.
It's being done all through the Midwest.
Have you ever prayed for it not to rain? Well, maybe during like serious flooding.
Yeah. You know, we had those drought, the floods, the great floods of, I forgot, 83 or whatever it was. We had 2 of them a year apart.
Uh-huh.
I kind of prayed for it to quit raining then.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's rare.
Yeah. But I warned people.
93 had big floods too.
It was 93.
Yeah.
I forgot the years. There was 2 of them.
Yeah.
There was a year separate, I think, between them. It was bad.
I remember flying over
Yeah.
the Mississippi and the Missouri, and it was...
Yes. It took towns out. It just flooded town. It was bad.
Yeah.
But why were there so many floods?
Soil was so bad.
The soil couldn't take the water. And the soil still can't take the water. Our farming practices haven't changed. We're still tilling.
Right.
You know, when you break ground open and till it, there's people deep plowing now. They think if they break it deeper, it's just, the problem with the soil is we just haven't plowed it deep enough yet.
That's a thing?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's people around here going back to plowing. I'm like, what are you doing? You're losing what precious organic matter you have in the soil. Oh, it makes a better crop if you go deeper. I'm like, you need to stop doing that, but you can't. They won't listen.
So how do we get massive change? Because that's more conventional than not. I mean, that's done more than not, right?
It is, unfortunately.
So we're still going down the road to soil destruction.
Yes, there's a lot of money behind it. And you have these huge companies that their livelihoods depended on it. They're not going to give up that power.
They're not. We shouldn't expect them to.
No. Yeah. And so it's going to have to be, more people on the land, smaller farmers, changing the way they're doing things. Here's the deal. Even large farmers today, they have to farm. Used to be a large farmer with 600 acres. When I grew up,
that was large?
That was large,
okay.
600 acres. They had a 40-20 John Deere. That was a big tractor.
40-20 meaning?
Meaning that was about 150 horse tractor.
Got it.
That was a big tractor. Today they got 500 horse tractors.
Right.
Dualies on all 4 tires. The thing burns 10 gallons of fuel in 10 minutes. I mean, it's unbelievable, the fuel consumption on these big tractors. Anyway, and they're not cheap. They're $1 million.
Right, $1 million for a tractor.
For a big one, a 500 horse. A 40-20, you could buy for 30 to 40,000 used. But anyway, we've got this idea that unless we whip nature into submission, we're going to lose. And there's a saying that's being taught. It's on a major agricultural building. It's engraved in marble at the top. When the kids go to school every day, they got to read that. It says this: nothing in nature is given. It is won. W-O-N.
Good gravy.
You got to get a bigger piece of machinery or a meaner piece of chemical or a bigger tool to beat Mother Nature, or she's going to whip your butt. That's what it's saying. And it's just the opposite. We got to learn to work with nature, and we both win. Everybody wins. Nature wins. Wildlife wins. Our soil wins. The water wins. Our environment wins.
Cities
people's
downstream,
health.
People's health. Well, let's talk about health.
Oh, yeah. So the health, when I was growing up, I've told this story several times. In school, we had a small school, 280 people. There was one girl. One girl had diabetes. Everybody knew her. And it was a big deal because she had diabetes. Today, it's 1 in 7. What's changed? Why has everybody got celiac disease? You didn't have celiac. You never even heard of it. Now everybody's got this allergic, if they eat wheat or the gluten, they can't hold their stomach and their bowels, and it's a mess,
Yeah.
It's the...
Is it glyphosate?
That's a lot of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't disappear. They say it does.
Every American has glyphosate in their blood.
Oh, yeah.
100%. That's about 2 years old, that study.
Yep.
Being published. And you're saying glyphosate's being used on lentils now?
Yes, they're spraying them.
Now, I heard that wheat gets sprayed 7 times in its life.
Well, I believe it. they're spraying it, I know, right at harvest time to get it to all die at the same time.
Maybe that's what I heard.
So that when they run the combine through, it's all dry. It's cured out. There's not any immature seeds in there. Because they get docked on moisture. Did you know that? Yeah, corn, I think it's if it's over 14%, it's a pretty good dock. And so they're spraying all these crops.
So they're using it to dry
it.
Not even what it was made for. That's like using antibiotics to gain weight when that's not what it was made for.
They're using it to kill. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In feedlots, they feed them antibiotics as a weight gaining mechanism.
Someone found that by mistake in the 50s.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey.
Pump it to them.
Yeah, look at this.
It disappears.
So we're messing with people's gut microbes.
Big time.
And we're messing with the soil's microbes. We're messing with the cattle's microbes. So that's really where, and you were taught by Ian, the fellow in South Africa, that we're microbe farmers.
Yes, in 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there's 2 billion microbes in there.
Right.
I saw a film of microbes, okay, by Dr. Pat Richardson. She's unbelievable.
Okay.
I think she's retired now, but she put out a 60x micron microscope. She blew it up. Healthy soil out of a pasture by Walt Davis down on the Red River in Oklahoma. She blew it up. And I mean, it was freaky. It looked like Jurassic Park out there. There was centipedes this long, bloom, bloom.
Right.
And there was predators diving off and driving their beak, and you could see the juice coming out of that centipede into this beast that had these red eyes and these little yellow antennas.
So this isn't a bad dream you had. This
is a real thing.
Okay.
These are microbes. And she knew the name of them. Pat could speak their language. She even had her voice adjusted to, it was unbelievable.
Tell me her name again?
Dr. Pat Richardson.
Okay, we got to get that footage. Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. So when Pat made that comment, she goes, folks, if we all sat down to a dinner table, we got mashed potatoes and gravy and corn and the fried chicken, we're all sitting down to eat, and somebody just gets on a tractor and runs a disc right through our dinner plate, right through the table. You think that's going to make us upset? Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think the microbes are doing? They're all sitting down to eat, and this disc comes along and rips up all the soil, killing all the microbes. Yeah. So she did a study. She took a disc and talked to Walt Davis, and Walt let her do it. She ran a disc, one pass, down through his pasture. Mm-hmm. This disc was like 8 feet wide. And she didn't open up the cutters where it threw the soil up.
She just
Sliced it. Uh-huh. She did a soil test on soil life before and after. Uh-huh. She killed 90%.
No way.
She killed 90% of the soil.
From that one disking?
That one disking. She showed that 90% of soil life is in the top 3 inches.
Okay.
So when you till that, man, you're just devastating the land. Devastating it.
Now, when you have a system built on death to feed food, right?
Yeah.
That's just inherently backwards.
Yep.
And really, with like the way I've heard it, 90% of what's us is microbes.
Yep.
Not by weight, but by DNA.
Yep.
And so when I was making Soul Carbon Cowboys, one of my earlier titles was Feed the Food. Like we have to feed the food that then we eat.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But we're killing their food. And then we have to pour in something because they don't have what,
right.
It's like
chemical fertilizer.
It's like we're giving kids, I love the Flintstones, but Flintstones vitamins instead of a good breakfast every morning.
Exactly.
And it costs more.
Yep.
And it's not the whole game that they need.
No.
So how do you stay positive?
I stay positive because I'm putting out a lot of research, and every day that I'm on the farm, I'm trying to teach people something on my YouTube channel.
Yep.
It's not, you don't go there to be entertained. You want that, there's plenty of those other channels. I'm trying to teach you how to be successful in animal agriculture. And if you don't reinvent the wheel, just do kind of what we're doing, and you're probably gonna have some pretty good success. Mm-hmm. And so that, people say, well, you can't make any money in beef cattle. I'm like, right. If you focus on the soil and feeding the soil feeds the plants feed the animals, and the animals feed us. Don't make it any more complicated than that. And I'll tell you one more phrase, Peter. There was an old guy told me when I first started out, I was a young punk. I didn't know anything. Thought I knew everything. And he said, Greg, just remember this. You'll never go wrong if you focus your money investment on something that eats a green blade of grass. Don't go any further than that. I'm like, it's got to be more complicated than that. You got to be feeding them grain or these ionophores or the growth implant. And how are you going to make a living? He said, just focus on something that can eat a green blade of grass and give you a baby every year. That's what he said. And he was right.
And he was right.
He was right. And I wish I'd listened to him even more, because at that time he told me, you don't need these big cows. And I'm like, Kenneth, but I've got to have a big cow to get a big calf. And then I did that. I went against him, and it cost me dearly.
We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. It's Peter. If you like what you're hearing and want to learn more, please check out our docuseries, Roots So Deep, You Can See the Devil Down There. It's streaming at rootsodeep.org. Welcome back to the show. So, the idea that a cow needs to be big, right?
Yeah.
Does that help the flavor? Does that help the nutrient density? Does that help the planet? Does that help the farm, right? You're saying no.
I'm saying 100% no.
Right. And
why does the cow need to be big?
Right.
It's because the feedlots and the slaughter plants want them big. You know why? They can feed them more corn. The slaughter plants want them big because they can set a team of meat cutters there and they can just whack and whack and whack on one carcass. They don't want to be bringing multiple carcasses in there.
Right.
And I asked a guy, he wrote an article, said, boys, we got to get him bigger. He made me so dang mad, I called him up because I know him. I used to graze for him. I said, Justin, how big do we got to get him? I said, people going broke now raising these big old mammoths. He goes, well, Greg, if you got them the size of an elephant, that'd be perfect.
Oh, good gravy.
He said that. And I said, Justin, you're going to put everybody out of business. At that time, Justin had two sale barns, and they were selling about 140,000 calves a year in the fall. They sold one of them. They weren't getting enough calves, and now they're down to like 70,000 calves. Yeah. It's happening. I told him, I said, you're going to put yourself out of business. Well, Greg, if I reverse trait now, I will be murdered. They will kill me. Because I've been telling them for the last 30 years they got to get him bigger. Well, at least he was honest with me, but yeah. He's sold out now.
But, you know, people can actually say, you know what, I've learned something new. You don't have to be wrong to be right. You don't have to say everything I've just said the last 30 years I was wrong. You can say, I made these decisions on the last 30 years based on what I knew.
Right.
And now today, I've learned something different.
Yep.
And I realize I need to pivot.
Yep.
People think that if you pivot, then you've just negated your whole career.
Exactly.
Or your whole reputation.
Exactly.
You can pivot with honor, right? With integrity.
It's harder for a man to do than it is a woman. Men are very, very prideful.
Right.
And it's right here. It's in the heart.
Yeah.
It's in the heart. If you're not willing to receive the message, it's pretty tough to change people until they go broke. Most people will go broke not most, some people will. Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah.
People go broke before they change.
But they think, I've seen it in science where people have made their whole career on, cattle are bad, so therefore they can't be good and things like that. It's like, you're right. To a point, the industrial model is very destructive. It's not the whole story.
No.
And it's not like 50 years ago there was a lot of Greg Judys and Gabe Browns around, right?
No.
But now it's more and more and more and more. And you're getting 140,000 people following you on YouTube. And
we got 119,000.
Yeah, and so, those are people following you.
Yes.
That's more people than in the University of Tennessee's football stadium following you. And that's a big stadium.
That's a big number. Yeah, that's pretty, I hadn't thought about it like that.
It's a lot of folks, right? Yeah. So it's a different world right now.
Yeah.
And tell me about the spraying thing. You've told me before, it's like when you posted that one piece where you saw someone spraying.
Yeah, so I was coming back from delivering a grass-fed steer to the arbiter, and I look out in the field in this wintertime, they'd already taken the corn off. There was corn stuff. He's spraying. And I can smell it. Somebody said, he's spraying a biological. That was one of the comments I got back. I made a YouTube video on my channel, and boy, I got attacked.
But you could smell it wasn't a
I
biological.
could smell it was Roundup, it was glyphosate. There were some weeds coming up. We had a warm spell in December, and the weeds came up.
He was using glyphosate to kill the weeds.
He nailed it. He went and sprayed it.
So what did you do?
I stopped, and I did a video right next to the equipment dealer. He had 78 brand new green machines up there, sprayers. 78!
So he knew he was going to sell them.
Oh, he sold every one of them.
Yeah.
So now, you know, every farmer's got their own spray rig, and they can spray their big jeebers out of the land. And
so you put up a video. What did it say and what happened?
So I put this video up saying, folks, are we going to kill humanity? We're killing ourselves. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the soil, it's in the meat, it's in breast milk.
It is.
We're feeding baby formula that's got it in it. I mean, come on, stop! That's what I said. And I made a lot of people mad. And they were crop farmers. And they said, well, we got to feed the world. What you're doing, your way, you can't feed the world. And I'm like, yeah, I've been hearing that for the last 30 years. And, but do we have to kill humanity to feed the world?
Seems a little bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah. I mean, we're supposed to be a first-class nation, and yet we have the poorest health in the world. The uncivilized that aren't eating all this crap, they actually have better health than we do.
Yeah. Uncivilized with quotes.
Uncivilized quote.
Yeah.
They're not eating all the processed food.
Right.
Weston A. Price, he was a dentist. He traveled the world. He found out the people that ate meat and milk, man, they had good teeth. The ones that were more developed couldn't eat this crap. Their teeth are all gnarly, and yeah, they weren't very healthy.
Interesting.
Yeah, he put that together.
So when I came to your farm for a grass-fed exchange field day in 2014, so 10 years ago,
Yep.
it was so beautiful. It was just gorgeous. It was at the highest level of where I'd been.
Yep.
Like Neil Dennis and you were right at the peak of what I'd seen.
Yep.
And so to know that you're doing well,
Yep.
and is growing, and
we're so much better than we were in 14.
Right, I am too.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
I am too. I can show you the film I made then, and I can show you the film I'm making now. Right,
Yep.
we're always learning.
We need young people.
Okay.
And that's what gets me fired up. People say, Greg, what legacy do you want to leave behind? I want to leave a legacy of young people that have been trained under Jan and I. We're teaching them a better way of taking care of the land. And they're seeing it.
Yeah.
These young guys seeing it. I mean, Isaac, our farm manager, he sees things every day that I don't see. I'm serious. These young folks, everybody, this next generation, they aren't worth a squat. Yes, they are. There's some very sharp young folks out there.
Yeah.
And the problem is they're not given a chance to get out on the land. And that's a problem I have. If I was a USDA guy, I would say, you know what? CRP is great, but we're going to take some of it back. We're going to put young people on those CRP fields. Let them make a living out there.
CRP is the land that they took out of production because they didn't know how to stop the erosion.
That's correct.
Unless they just took it out of production.
That's right.
But they also said you can't graze it.
Can't do anything to it.
Which is...
Yeah. You can mow it.
Right, you can mow it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to really help.
So there's a real powerful policy there.
Yeah.
And I've seen studies where the carbon really didn't go up much in that whole time. It didn't erode.
No.
But
I tell you what it's done, it's taken the land out of the young folks. The young folks have got to compete against the CRP payment. They can't even lease it because the CRP is $125 an acre. On good, better land, it may be higher than that. Well, how's a young person going to rent that to run livestock on it and pay $125 an acre to lease?
Right.
He's not going to be able to do that. So we need to put people back on the land, Peter. And the only way to do that is to give them land access. You asked me how I'm going to change it. Man, if I was USDA, if I was the director, I'd say, you know what? You young guys that want to come back on the land, here's what we're going to do.
here's some land.
Yes, I've got a guy down the road who's paid for land twice with CRP payments, and he brags about it at the coffee shop. Yeah, you're making my payment for me, Greg. And I'm like, yeah, and it's been growing weeds for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what? He died.
Okay.
And it's still in CRP. Now the widow's getting it. That's wrong. That's wrong. You could have put a young family on that farm. They could have made a good living on that. And then they would have kids coming on. So I think we need to get, Peter, we need more people on the land, not less.
I agree. I agree.
And we're going to 10,000 acre farms now and 20,000 acre farms just because they've taken all the margin away. All the big ag companies have taken all the money. So these farmers have got to farm more land to try and make it go.
Because their debt is huge.
Huge.
So it's not like all these farmers are making a ton of money.
No, it's the chemical and the
inputs
and the machinery.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then,
I've never seen so many big combines and stuff. And those are $1 million a piece.
So the banks must be digging it because they're making the loans to do this. So it's keeping a lot of businesses going, but it's hurting the land, it's hurting the farmer, it's hurting our guts, it's hurting our health.
Look at the small towns. There are none.
Yeah.
The schools closed up. There's not even a post office. Everything, they're ghost towns now. And those used to be thriving businesses.
Yeah.
I was in New Zealand. I did 4 schools over there, and every single town in New Zealand I went to, it was thriving. The
little towns.
The little towns were thriving. The shops are open. There was people bustling in, buying. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it was all being powered by farms.
Yeah.
Farms.
And so now people, to get that, they have to go to Disneyland.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about it.
That's it.
Yeah. We can get that back. I've seen some small towns that were thriving, and it feels really good.
It does.
It feels really good to be on your farm. It feels really good to talk to all the people that I'm meeting along the way.
Yeah.
And so thank you for being on the Peter Byck Show.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Peter. And I'll just say this. We need more Peter Bicks. We need more of you because you have a wonderful knack for that relationship between the farmer and the land. And we need your voice out there, and your passion comes out. And that, I think anything you do in life, Peter, if you've got passion, you're going to be successful at it. If you don't even start.
Yeah, it helps. Well, I'm honored by what you just said. And thank you for being here. And we're going to do another one very soon.
Thank you.
Help spread the word. Subscribing and hitting the bell lets the platform know you value these conversations and helps us share new stories and new science with the world. Thank you all for watching. Greg's one of the most talented farmers I've ever met. Be sure to subscribe to his Greg Judy Regenerative Rancher channel on YouTube. To see our docuseries Roots So Deep, you can see the devil down there. Join us at rootsodeep.org and use the code GREG, G-R-E-G, for 10% off. You can read our published research and other folks' research on regenerative agriculture at rootsodeep.org under the tab Research. If you would be so kind, please tell one other person about our show. To let us know your feedback, questions, and comments, please email me at peter@rootsodeep.org. And to follow us on social, our handle across the board is @CarbonCowboys. This is Peter Byck for The Peter Byck Show. Be well and be kind.